Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Consuming Podcast.
Yeah.
This is either the last episode of 2022 or the first. You know what? It's the 29th right now. It's going to be the first episode of 2023.
Yes.
Right. So this is kind of a live episode, I'll say. It's not super planned. This is our album of the year discussion.
You know, and I think, Gary, like, the hope I have is when I reveal my top 5 that there's like some genuine like shock, some genuine like disagreement that we can go back and forth, because so many times I feel like we agree with each other.
Mm-hmm.
We could have some civil disagreements in this episode.
Yeah, and before we did our Christmas episode, we were kind of just hanging out and talking about, this is definitely my album of the year. This is mine. And we did argue a bit for, like, how could you pick that?
Yeah.
What are you judging this based on? Like,
and then we said, stop. Hey, this is podcast talk. Save it, table it, and let's record an episode.
That's right.
And so we're here.
So I was thinking what we'd do is we'd look at 2022.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good, not perfect, at having a playlist of everything that's released in the year.
Right.
So what Tyler and I did is we went through that list earlier, and we decided to bring up, I don't know, like 15 bands.
Yeah.
You know, these are all things, all albums, EPs, full lengths, everything released this year. And these are ones that we know that we've listened to a lot, or we think has a lot of potential, or is album of the year.
Ooh.
So by the end of our conversation, I think, you know, we'll that's when we'll cover our choices.
That's right. And we're not perfect, so we could have left some stuff off.
Well,
you know?
Hold on. I'm perfect.
Oh, true. I forget Gary is on this podcast. I, Tyler, am not perfect. And so we might have left some stuff off, you know? But we felt like this was our opinion of what we listened to most in 2022. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to, like, kind of break it down once we're going to do a top 5. I don't know about you, but, like, and we'll get to this, that top 5 was hard to make.
It was. Well, I don't know. I feel like I had a good, like, top 7.
Yeah.
But the problem was sorting it.
Yeah.
You know, like, 2, 3, 4, 5, who cares? What do I pick for number 1?
Yeah, I'm sad, though, of, like, my 6 and 7 that I left off. Yeah. If that makes sense, you know. But we're gonna give them some love, and that's kind of the idea of talking about these albums of 2022.
Yeah. So with that, should we start?
Dive into this. 2022 was a great year, a ton of music, and I think like it was a good mixture. Most years are like this, of old bands putting out new stuff that we like, and some new bands.
There was like a dreary season of 2022, like early summer, where it's like, is no one gonna release an album?
Yeah,
because everyone's like releasing in October,
right?
So it's like, oh my gosh, we have to wait all year for this. So that, you know, there was a bit of a dry spell, but luckily Skillet released an album, and you know,
hey, there's not gonna be any Skillet hate on this episode, okay?
Oh, sorry, no hate.
Yeah,
we love Skillet. Love Skillet.
It did leave you wondering, like, was 2021 just way better? And maybe it was, but I think 2022 like redeemed itself, especially once you got past that, like, you know, summer, and you got to the fall, and even some later
releases a day, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I listen to first? Yeah, and you know, on that train of thought, I think next year it'll be pretty similar too.
Yeah,
at the end of the year, we're going to be saying, was 2022 really better? Like, were there way better releases?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to be, you know, because we're old and we're like, you know, everything new is not as good as old. You know, I don't know if it's going to be that kind of a thing, or if it's just because the albums from a year ago have settled more, and, you know, you've gotten to acquire the taste better kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think, like, this is interesting too. Gary has all of the albums we chose to talk about in chronological release date order, right? Because that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's who Gary is. He orders everything by albums and release date. I listen to a single, I let Spotify then choose the related next song and just keep listening to that playlist.
Ugh.
I know.
You monster.
And
it's not like I'm just, there are people that make a playlist like on a weekend and then they use that playlist forever.
Yeah.
I have playlists that I touch every week.
Right.
So it's not like I'm doing it like that. Just, Trenches releases a new album January 1st. Guess what I'm doing January 1st? I'm adding it to a brand new playlist.
Yeah.
Called 2022 albums. And from then on, I add everything to it. Not just metalcore, like I put everything on it that I have an interest in.
That's impressive.
But anyway, yeah.
So are we starting with Trenches then? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I think so. We should do that.
Dude, what a transition. All right, so let's jump into these. Okay, so these next, all the albums we're going to talk about are albums we loved, we listened to, no ranking, just chronological order of release date in 2022.
So yeah, the first one, Trenches. And I know not a lot of people know about them. It's Jimmy Ryan's side project from Haste the Day.
Yep.
It's the first album since 2008. And the greatest part is that it was released on the very first day of the year. So right away, it's like album of the year.
It's hard because some people don't like Trenches. I'm just gonna say it because they're different, very different, But you were like, Trenches is coming out with a new album. Trenches is coming out with a new. This was you before they released their album.
Yeah.
What do you like about Trenches in general?
That's hard to say. I like Jimmy Ryan.
Me too. Right, so you're automatically gonna listen to it because of him.
Yeah, and I mean, here's a giveaway. It's not an album of the year contender for me.
Yeah.
I like it in that it's kind of like a noisier metalcore, kind of like I don't know. I want to say hardcore, but it's weird because like when it first came out, I thought it was like very heavy, and re-listening to it, I'm like, this isn't heavy at all.
Yeah.
Almost a full year later now.
Right.
But I will say it got me really excited that, if Jimmy Ryan's back, maybe Haste the Day will come back.
Right. If he's making music now, again.
Yeah. And he's going to shows. They went to a couple local shows recently.
And we saw that there's a Haste the Day announcement coming February 1st.
Yeah.
Right? And we're stoked.
Yeah,
one of our favorite bands of all time. It was our first episode we ever did. Was a Haste the Day episode over their whole discography.
Yep.
So, I mean, Trenches does get me a little excited for Haste the Day. What does that say about Trenches? I don't know.
And what does that even say about Haste the Day? Like,
yeah,
is it gonna be Jimmy? I mean, I think we know Keach is in it because he's posting stuff too on socials. So, yeah, I have no idea. I'm excited. I mean, even if it's new music, even if it's their worst album they ever make, it's still gonna be really good.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would love if it's just like a tour, kind of like what Close Your Eyes did, hitting all the major cities and major festivals and stuff all throughout the country. Even if it's just Furnace Fest, I might have to go to Furnace Fest again. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about that album. I was just happy that it happened, happy that it came out.
Absolutely. Okay.
So the next one that came out is one that we both really liked. Plead the Widow's Cause, Pain Split.
Yes.
An 8-track EP, LP.
In between.
I mean, back in the day, 8 tracks were 8 tracks. That's why they were called 8 tracks.
Right, yes.
So, where's the 8 track? But yeah, we did an episode on these guys, on this album.
Yep.
We dove into most of the songs, 6 of them, I think.
And it's awesome. And if we say this every time we talk about them, if you haven't listened to them, go listen. It's a post-hardcore nostalgia trip, and they do it really, really well.
Yeah. Just listen to us, all right? I'm tired of telling you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ian and Brett were on our Christmas special episode, and that was really cool getting to talk to them and hang out and hear a little bit more about them. But stoked to hear more.
Yeah, and their songs, we dug into the lyrics, right? And just love it. I feel like they are awesome, obviously, musicians, but lyrically too, it was cool stuff, and a breath of fresh air, something different, and it was cool, and it felt like not that we discovered them, but it was wow, we're listening to this band before they get big because we're like, man, they're awesome. You know, kind of like with Close Your Eyes back in the day.
Yeah.
We listened to We Will Overcome before anyone else, very few people, you know, listened to it. And we're like, man, it's awesome. Saw them with like 12 people at a show. And we felt like we had something to like share. Like, we gotta say this. And so with Plead the Widow's Cause, it feels the same way. Like,
yeah, go
listen to this. Do yourself a favor.
So they have 3 songs that really stick out to me, and we talked about all 3 on the podcast.
Yeah.
But Pain Split, True Love, which Tyler made a hilarious reel to, and Diet Koresh.
Yeah. True Love is still my jam. Like, that's one of my favorite songs of the year, for sure. So good.
Oh, so probably an Album of the Year contender for you.
Oh, maybe. It might be up there.
All right. So the next one. So let's move to Wolves at the Gate, Eulogies.
Yeah.
Now, I will preface this with that, Tyler, we know you love to... Maybe you don't love to. You seem to constantly say how not heavy they are.
I am always put in this weird position to where for some reason people back me into a corner. They're like, are they heavy or not? And I'm like,
is it metalcore?
I don't know. I don't. And I always say they're not, right? They're not super heavy. And they're like, oh, you hate them. No, I don't hate them. Right? They're just not super heavy.
Right.
Which is fine, you know? But Eulogies, when it came out, I'm not going to lie, I didn't fully like it. I thought other albums were better, but the more I listened to Eulogies, the more it grew on me. Like, a lot.
Yep, I get that. I enjoy... So I have this on vinyl, and I enjoy playing it in the house.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, like... I mean, there are songs on it that stick out that I like. You know, Shadows, Lights and Fire, which is, like, their softer one, which...
But it's so catchy.
Like, I really like that. Yeah, me too. It needs to be on the radio. You know, Weight of Glory and Silent Anthem, like... They all stick out and they're awesome, but I just enjoy this whole album front to back. Yeah. Like, just playing the whole thing. There's not a single song that I'm like, I have to skip this. Like, move over. I got to get over there and skip this song, you know, like. But yeah, I really enjoy the album as a whole, like front to back. Not as much as Captors, but probably my second favorite Wolves at the Gate album.
Dude, I think Eulogies is their best album for me, and like the Weight of Glory might be. Gosh, can I say this? Because I just said it.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm waiting.
I just said it for Pain Split for True Love, Song of the Year, and now I'm going to say for Weight of Glory, Song of the Year. I truthfully think this. Like, I'm going to say it. Weight of Glory is Song of the Year for Tyler. Stamp it, mark it, send it.
Please hold for 10 more minutes until the next Song of the Year.
No, that's it. Song of the Year.
Wow.
It is so good. It is, to me, it's similar to a Lowborn.
Yeah.
Right? It's heavy, it's good, and it's a song that I have played all year. Love it.
Wow. I didn't know that about you. You surprise me all the time.
See? So all those people that think I'm a Wolves at the Gate hater. I'm not.
In your face. I'm only doing this so you get off my back. So let's move on from this. And, you know, I would really like... Here's a fun backstory for everybody.
Yeah.
Tyler and I constantly are like, we need to do an episode on Wolves at the Gate. And we're like, yes, let's do it. We set a date for Captors. I think there was a discussion about Eclipse.
Yeah.
And then with Eulogies, it was constantly on like a poll or a list or something on Discord. Like, what should we do next?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, do this one. And like, Eulogies has always been there. And Wolves at the Gate has always been there. And one day, we will do an episode on Wolves at the Gate.
We have to. I think Eulogies would be a good one to do it on.
So next is a band. I don't know how I found them. I think someone posted them on our Discord server or something, and I don't even know if they label themselves as Christian. But they're Christian adjacent because, well, a lot of Christian people I know really like them and share them. And that counts, right? That's a thing.
Sure.
So they're called A Moment in Pompeii.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was like their song Hands of God.
Dude.
And it's just so heavy.
Yeah.
Like, so good. And I just remember, like, I listened to it and I was like, this is really good. And I don't always listen to a song like 2 or 3 times in a row. but like that one I did, and it was when it was a single before this little EP came out of theirs. I say little because it's only 4 songs, but yeah, A Moment in Pompeii, Longing for Substance is the name of it. And yeah, I sent it to Tyler, and I was like, yo, check this out. And
I listened right away too.
I think you actually listened right away.
And it was so good. Like I can't even explain. It was like it's super heavy. Hands of God is like so heavy, and then the singles they released and the EP they released, it just got better, or it felt like it got better as the EP went on. But man, like, I would love to get an LP from these guys. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know anything about that. I just know that, like, it might have been some of the most brutal stuff released this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for more, to see where they go, what happens next. It's hard to, like, put your finger on them, like, who are they? What are they doing? Where are they from?
Yeah.
Definitely one to keep our eyes out on.
For sure. Because I think the 2 singles that were released were Hands of God and Drown in Shallow Water. And then when the EP released, Poison the Well was on that. It was the last song on the EP.
Oh, yeah.
And that song was like, this is peak. This is great. And there was a good minute of 2022 where we were like, this is the best stuff ever released.
Yeah. Album of the year.
Album of the year, EP of the year, whatever.
And we were going to do an episode on it.
We were.
I don't remember why we didn't, but things happen.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was our full-time job. We could just...
I don't know about you, but going from, like, this is the most amazing thing released this year to it didn't make my top 5.
Yeah. That's because it was the summer, We're, like, scrounging for new music.
It might be in that 7-8 range for me, but it was, like, it's a good EP. You guys, you got, especially if you like brutal kind of deathcore, it's awesome.
Yeah, his vocals are just... I really like it because the growls and stuff are very deep. Like Cookie Monster's dad screaming in there.
His dad?
Yeah.
Does he have a dad on Sesame Street?
Dude, I have no idea. But think of Cookie Monster, right?
Yeah.
His growl, right? I don't know. Older, bigger. That's all I got for you.
All right, we'll take it. Yeah, go listen to it. Moment in Pompeii. Oh, so good.
So the next one we got was a surprise to me, I think. Memphis May Fire, their album Remade in Misery.
Yeah.
So what I hated about this album,
whoa,
to start with, so there's 11 songs, and they released them like 1 song a month for 8 months.
Yeah.
It was brutal. And so by the time the album drops, it's like, here's our brand new album in the middle of the summer. And it's like, I've heard every song except like these 2.
Yeah.
And not only that, once they released 5 singles, they released an EP of those 5 singles, like in March or something.
Right.
And then like 3 months later, they're like, here's our full length with 2 more songs you've never heard. And it's like, killing me. And I hate that format.
It's the new format, man.
I know, it is, because it worked. Every single they released, everyone jumped on, what's this one? What's this one? What's this one? And they got tens of millions of plays on songs on this thing. They reached people, and it worked. And I think it works for like a marketing standpoint. But people like me who just want to be surprised for 50 minutes on an album that I've never heard any song on, that's what I want. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a huge step in the right direction from their previous album. I think anybody can agree with that. Yeah, heavy. If you are fans of Wage War, this album is right up there. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I know you're not a huge Memphis May Fire fan, but
Blood and Water, you told me when that single came out, you said listen to it, and I did, and you're like, he actually screams in it, like he used to.
It's back,
and it's heavy. And it's fun, and it is produced, but it's really good. And I think it's kind of an in-between, an in-between metalcore or hard rock. I don't know what you would call it, but it is good, and I like it.
Poppy metalcore.
Yeah, poppy metalcore.
Radiocore.
he is such a talented vocalist, both for clean singing and I think his screaming is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like when he does it, Matty Mullins. And it's Blood and Water was my favorite song on the album. Coincidence that it's like the heaviest? Probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I also really like their songs Bleed Me Dry and Left for Dead.
Yeah, Bleed Me Dry is good, yeah.
The fun part, so after this album came out, I saw them in Spokane without you, Tyler. I was very sad.
That's also a theme of 2022.
Yeah, the theme of 2022 is every time Tyler and I were supposed to go to a show, one of us got sick, or Tyler had to work, or, things like that. But that's not what we're here to complain about.
We went to 2 shows together.
We know of 2, yeah.
Anyways.
This one I brought my friend Bobby with, which he went to Furnace Fest with me. And they weren't the headliners. The headliners was Dance Gavin Dance, right before like the rape allegations and stuff of their lead singer and whatnot. And it was like, whoa. But they killed it. They were awesome. I was super surprised seeing them live. I thought it'd be a lot of tracks and, very production heavy. But no, they brought it. It was great.
That's cool.
A lot of energy. And they played like their most Christian songs live.
Sweet.
Like they played their old song, The Answer.
Yeah.
Right. Where the whole point of it is Jesus is the answer. And they did all that. And they didn't pull the mic away. They sang all the parts. Like, I was impressed and proud of them, I'll say. I don't know if that's a thing, but...
I'm proud of you, Maddie.
Yeah. That's my boy.
That's cool, man.
So move on to the next one.
Dude, let's talk about what's next. Yeah.
So the next one is one of Tyler's favorite EPs of the year, Orphantwin.
Okay, see, you're setting me up, dude. You're setting me up right now. I liked it. I liked one song.
Deathsurf.
Oh, so good. You know why?
Because it's heavy?
Because it should have been on All Hail, Norma Jean.
Yeah. So what I think, here's my wild theory. So what keeps happening is when Norma Jean releases an album, like half a year later, Corey Brandon has a side project, and they just drop one album and then they're done. Right. So after Polar Similar, there was a band where him and I think his brother are drumming. His brother drums and he does guitars and vocals. Called 100 Suns comes out, and it sounds very similar to Polar Similar.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, these are just B tracks or something, continuing that train of thought. All Hail comes out, and here we are a year or so later, and Orphantwin, which is a song,
right? On All Hail.
They'd release this EP Future Classic with like 6 songs or whatever, and they totally have the tone and the feeling of All Hail.
Yeah.
And there's a few that are like quite soft, right? Comparatively, like they're more like grunge rock.
100%.
Which I love. Hominy is probably the one Tyler hates, and I really like it.
I don't hate anything, Gary.
Right. Despise, loathe entirely. So yeah, they released this, right?
Yeah.
And then their new album came out, and so I wonder if there's going to be some B tracks on there.
Yeah, the Project 86 new album. That's the B tracks.
I don't know about that.
At least the first single release,
that's
right?
way different than what they just released.
That is true. That is true.
Plus, this Orphantwin EP has a song called Loveless, which is like a line from one of the songs on All Hail,
There were definitely connections to All Hail. And it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good, but like I just wasn't feeling half of it. I loved some of the songs, but...
Well, I loved it, and that's all that matters to me.
Deathsurf is rocking, my guy.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's totally so good.
So let's move on to the next release.
Yeah.
Which is Norma Jean.
Yeah.
This is around the time when albums started dropping.
Yes, consistently.
Things are like Norma Jean dropped the same day as I think Becoming the Archetype. So it's like, here we go. And from here on, like week after week, big name bands dropping stuff. So yeah, Death Rattle Sing For Me is the name of the album.
Right.
And I was beyond stoked for it.
Me too. So, All Hail, fantastic album.
Yeah.
One of my favorites in the last 5 years for sure.
Of all albums or what?
of all albums, last 5 years, I think it's up there. Like, it's a really solid, great, nearly perfect album.
Yeah.
We did an episode on it. I know you love it a lot. And so the follow-up to that was going to be hard no matter what. Because our expectations are through the roof.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I think there's some really, really good pieces to it.
Yep.
Even the singles that they released before, I liked. I was
I think the singles are like their best stuff.
Me too, which never happens, or usually doesn't happen.
Right.
Spearmint Revolt, awesome song.
Yep.
One of my favorites on the album. But the rest of the album wasn't necessarily a disappointment, but it just wasn't like what All Hail was. It just didn't feel like it was that, wow, this is new, this is heavy, this is great, I love it. I like where the band went with this album. They explored some crazy stuff, and I'm here for it. It just didn't feel like that for Death Rattle.
Sure.
What about you?
So the singles came out and I fell in love right away because I was stoked it wasn't like All Hail.
Okay.
Like, the last thing I wanted was another album that sounded like All Hail for me to complain and say, this sounds like All Hail. Looking at you, Fit for a King.
Oh, okay.
I'll
take that back.
I'll delete that.
Bro. But the thing is, like, bands can do that, and that's okay. Like, I would have been perfectly, like, elated if we would have had another All Hail.
If it was another band, I'd be all for it. Right? August Burns Red releases, like, albums that are, like, I feel like
similar.
every third album is the same. At least as far as experimental or guitar work or something like that. And every album they release, I love it, and I don't expect too much. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever they're going to release, I'm going to love it. Norma Jean, throughout their entire existence, every album is way different. Like, maybe their first two-ish, Redeemer and stuff, like, before that, they're kind of similar, because, earlier days, I guess.
Sure.
But I feel like they take pride in trying new things and experimenting new sounds.
Yeah.
Which, when this album released, it was my album of the year. Just because compared to everything else that we've already talked about, you and I, today, right now, it was leagues beyond and above what everybody else was doing, because I felt like their sound was unique and their guitar tones were weird, and they had a song that was 8 minutes long and another song that was 1:10, and like, what are you guys doing? And, listening to the whole thing, it's hard to be like, to know what song you're in.
Yeah.
And when you put it in a playlist and you shuffle it, it's something I don't like, that it's like, wow, this song is weird. Like, it doesn't fit in very good. Where All Hail, you put all of those into a shuffle of random stuff. Reliant K comes on and the next song is, Norma Jean, All Hail, and you're like, Anna comes on or something, you're like, oh dude, this is such a great song.
Sure.
And you know what song it is. And maybe it's just me, and maybe I haven't given it enough mileage yet, but with Death Rattle, there's maybe 4 or 5 songs that I feel like would work, and they're great by themselves. But other ones like Parallella, like, I loved that song when I heard it.
Right.
And I was like, noted. This is so cool. The sound was like 90s or something. Like, it reminds me of something from my childhood, and I don't know what it was. And it's like nostalgic for some reason. But then when you just play it, and it's like 1:40, and you're like, is this the song? Oh, this is the song. This is weird. But they're all written, front to back. Right. They run into each other and all that. But yeah, loved the album. Some of my favorite songs: Spearmint Revolt, like you said. Yeah. Area Obscura.
Yes.
The Whoa Whoa Wave of whatever. I had another weird spelling thing. A Killing Word. So heavy.
Yeah, Killing Word's awesome.
Yeah, and Heartache, which is their long one, and it didn't feel like a Norma Jean song to me, which I think is why I really liked it. It was
very
so
different. Very different. And I think you said something that's like profound, Gary.
Whoa.
Yeah. No, you did. And this is me too. Like you said, I don't know if I've given enough mileage. Like, sometimes it takes not forcing yourself, but intentionally playing through an album multiple tens of 15s of times before you're like, dang, this is a really solid piece of work. Like for me, that happens a lot. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to an album for me that I started off not fully, I mean, even with Eulogies, but I think All Hail was that for me. At first, I was like, I'm not sure, because I love Redeemer. I love that era of Norma Jean, right? And you're like, no, it's so good. And I gave it the chance, the mileage, right? And I'm like, dude, I get it now. Mm-hmm. Same with The Act from The Devil Wears Prada. I get it. But I had to like intentionally set aside more than I usually do.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a first listen. Love.
Yeah, I feel like that's just, you know, your expectations of what you want versus what they give you. And you realize you're not the target audience.
Yes.
And you're like, this isn't for me, so I'm not going to like it.
Right.
Right. Which we'll get to that, I think, with some of the albums coming up. But
yeah. But you're right, man. like, and truthfully, maybe we give it the mileage it deserves, Death Rattle, and we're like, we were wrong. We come back and we do
next year. We'll be like, dude,
yeah, we do an episode on it or something, and we're like, we were wrong. This was killer.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
you never know.
All right, what do we got next?
So next, released on the same day, I believe, was Becoming the Archetype, which was huge, right? Children of the Great Extinction.
Yeah.
It was awesome because they announced it like, I don't know, a few months. Yeah. Right? They're like, hey, we're back. And we're like, no way, this is going to be sick. I can't wait for new stuff. They're like, new single on Friday. And you're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
You just said this now and you have a single now? And so the hype was huge and everyone was talking about it. And I was beyond stoked because it's like the last album was 2012 and 2011 with Jason.
Right,
Jason Wisdom, their singer. And so this is the original band from, you know, the very first album that's back. And yeah, I was excited, and you know, they were doing a vinyl release right away too, and I was like, oh man, I have to jump on this. We have to do an episode, Tyler. We have to do all these things. And
yeah.
I'm like shaking Tyler constantly, like, we have to do stuff. But yeah,
and we did.
Yeah, we did. And we did a deep dive. We went through every single song. We talked about you know, it's a concept album, so it's a story from beginning to end. Like, you got to sit down and listen to the whole thing. And for a long time, this was my album of the year, and I just ruined it. It's not.
Ooh,
it's not. But
interesting.
It was for a long time, and I think what made it not, what slipped it out of first place, is just the replayability.
Sure.
Right. So I've listened to the whole thing. I know all the songs. On shuffle mode, it doesn't really work well. Some songs don't blend well with other genres and things, which other Becoming the Archetype albums are like that too, right? Anything from Dichotomy, you throw it into a random top 100 metalcore track playlist, and you're like, holy cow, what is this? It just sticks out, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's part of the reason why I love it, but at the same time, for me to listen to it, I would have to listen to the whole album. Not just, you know, let's throw this song on. That'll be good. You know,
I think
like the whole thing.
I think there's some songs that you can, but you're right. It is a concept album, and it doesn't do it justice if you just pick and choose songs, which was my deal, right? Like, The Lost Colony, an amazing song, right? And I liked it. But when you put it in its place in the album and you listen from front to back, from track 1 to finish, the album as a whole is better than any single song.
Yep.
Which is super weird to say and different, which is also why I think we liked it so much.
Yeah, and you're one of those people, Tyler.
I am.
You're like,
I am.
I'm like, I text you, hey, what do you think of the new Fit for a King? And you're like, tell me the one song to listen to.
It's exactly
to get me started. One song, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And if you were to do that for this one, I'd be like, I have no idea. The Hollow, like,
right? Oh yeah.
You know, some kind of song that just sticks out, but
you know, and that's hard though. Like, would I have loved this album as much as I do if we didn't do an episode on it?
That's true.
Probably not. But we dug deep into lyrics and the allegory that was given, and we're like, this is so sick. Like, nobody's doing this.
Yeah.
And the fact that they came back right? And they released new music we were just so stoked for.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and they played it Christmas Burns Red.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of the bands that I haven't seen live.
And now there's a chance, right?
There's a chance. So that'd be cool.
That'd be so sweet.
Jason. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the next one, which I don't know if you know of, Tyler. But they released a full-length album. They released a single featuring Sean from Phineas.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. And then, like a week later, they released the whole album, which is like full-length, 11 songs or something. But they're called Ghost in the Ruins. The album's called Return to Ash.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only downside to this album is like the mix, I guess, the quality of production. It kind of reminds me of like the Showdown's first album. It's like so good, you know.
Right.
But if there was just like more money thrown at it, like it would sound so good.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of surprised how low plays they have on Spotify and stuff, because it's really good. I think they have a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to hear what they do next.
Yeah.
And it's a very fun, trying to describe their sound so you don't just go in thinking it's black metal or something. It's like early metalcore, like think like maybe Haste the Day, Attack of the Wolf King kind of style.
Yeah. That
lighter weight, fast. They're probably gonna be like, you're totally wrong. That's not us. You know, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's metalcore.
Yeah.
And they even have a song with Michael from Convictions, the lead singer.
Sweet. Yeah.
And yeah, it's great music. It's really good stuff, and I think all of you should give it a chance. And let me know how right I am.
Even me, I haven't listened, Gary, so I'm gonna have to do it now.
Yeah, I think I remember telling you to check them out along with like 6 other bands at the time. I'm like, check this one out, and you're like overwhelmed and ignored me.
And I was like, hey, Fit for a King's releasing something. Let's listen to that. You know, the good old stuff. See, I need to. Whenever I find Gary shows me bands, new bands, I listen and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I just need to like make a resolution that I'm going to listen to everything Gary sends me, so I don't have this regret when we do this episode next year of, oh yeah, I should have listened to that.
You should make a playlist on Spotify.
I'm not that organized, dude.
Like Gary's tracks, and every time I text you one, you don't even have to play it. Just open it, hold down on it until the menu pops up, and go add to playlist. Gary's tracks.
Yeah.
I'd say I'd make a playlist for you and send it to you, but then you'd never listen to it.
True. That's a good point.
All right, so shall we move on?
Let's do it, yeah.
So the next one is one that took me a while to get into. Confessions of a Traitor. The album is Punishing Myself Before God Does. And I know that they got a lot of hype right away, so they just signed to Face Down Records.
Right.
And a lot of people were all about them. And I think Peacekeeper was their first single. And I thought it was good, and I just left it at that. Meh. But yeah, that was my initial thought. I currently love it.
I mean, you're wearing a Confessions of a Traitor shirt.
That is
right
true.
Now.
I forgot about that. I'm wearing Confessions of a Traitor shirt.
So tell us more about it, please, Gary.
It's super good. So what got me hooked on it, that kind of turned it to like a contender for me, was their song Lovecraft. And so they had a music video, and like I was watching random like music videos before we had to leave somewhere, and my boys were sitting on the couch with me like, who's this band? Who's this? What's this? You know, showing them music videos. Had to show them a couple of Plead for Purging, you know. They're just, I'm like, this is funny, and they're just like, I don't get this. But yeah, I played this music video, and you know, they liked the song, and I think even Jen liked the song. But it's just really like bouncy. It's kind of catchy.
Yeah.
Partycore. It's not
partycore.
It's like, it's hardcore, but not that hardcore. I don't even know if it's post-hardcore. I don't even know what to call it.
See, for me, I think I need to give, this is a band I need to give more mileage to, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I've listened, and they're good. This album's fine. But like, the way that like you've told me, man, this is one of the best releases this year. Love it. You're wearing
I
their
remember
shirt.
showing you Lovecraft, the music video, on one of our editing sessions.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm getting goosebumps right here. And you're like, I'm pretty sure you were into it too. And I thought, this is it. We're going to do an episode. We're going to do an episode on Confessions of a Traitor. It's going to be awesome. And then, like, all the fire fizzled.
I was into it. I am into it. I like it. I like Confessions of a Traitor. But I just haven't got to that point to where I get in the car and say, all right, I have a 5-minute drive to work, 10-minute drive to work, whatever. What am I putting on right now?
Sure.
I'm not putting it on yet. You know? So I don't know. I think this is a band, if I give mileage to, we're doing an episode in 2023.
I'd love that. You know, I like the album a lot, and I think it's just really good, like hardcore melodic music.
Yeah. Is it in your top 5?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
It is.
It's not in mine, but...
And, you know, and I've heard these guys, like, before. Their older stuff. I think I found them because Ryan Kirby was featured on one of their albums. Mm. And so, you know, Ryan Kirby featured on a song. They must be good.
Yeah.
And I liked them, but I never got into them. And even when this released, I wasn't really into it. I liked Lovecraft. And when it came out, I listened to the whole album. And there was, like, 3 or 4 songs that just stuck with me.
Right.
And, like, there's one that's, like, emotional. Especially now recently that we've lost our friend Isaac.
Sure.
But they have a song called To Care for Those Who Cared for Us. And it's a song about, I'm assuming, his dad. But he's, like, has Alzheimer's and he can't even remember who he is.
Jeez.
And it's a song about loving him and remembering him, even though he has no idea who he is.
Yeah.
You know, and our loved ones will move on, or will live on in our memories, kind of thing. And I feel like it's just a very emotional, supportive album. And like, I don't know, it's just good.
Dude, I'll give it a shot. I'm gonna give it mileage it deserves, and maybe in the next couple months, when we do an episode, I'll say I was wrong.
We'll see.
We'll see.
If that episode starts, I can't wait for the intro.
Oh.
Gary finally gets his way.
Dude, that's most. And it's not your way. It's Tyler finally realized that Gary was right.
Well, we don't have to agree on everything, you know.
True. You like Five Finger Death Punch, and I don't.
So, yeah.
Sweet. What's next?
The Devil Wears Prada.
Color Decay.
I really like this one. It's in my top 5.
Me too.
I didn't care for any of the singles except Sacrifice, right? Sacrifice came out like a year ago.
Oh, I was going to say, Sacrifice is so good.
We listened to it. It came out like a few months after the act or something. It's like, wow, already. And it's awesome.
Yes.
So when the album finally dropped, I've already heard it 100 times, and I had to skip it. Like, I wanted to hear all the new stuff. But I was not a fan of the singles, which they were like Salt, Broken, Watchtower, right? I mean, they were good.
They're good.
They weren't like what I was hoping for. I don't even know what I was hoping for. And so I was very pessimistic. I didn't even listen to it the day it came out.
Oh.
I was just like, I'll listen to something else. But so anyway, I waited a few days and everyone was saying it was good. Everyone was asking me my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Is it good? I'm like, fine. So I reluctantly sat down and listened to it. And when it was over, I listened to the whole thing while working, so I wasn't fully focused. I thought it wasn't that bad. Like, I mean, it was good. It wasn't what I was wanting, I think. And so I decided to listen to it again, but this time I wouldn't be a toddler sitting like I'm in timeout with my arms crossed, like, I'm going to hate it.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to this, but I will. And then after that, like, I just found to enjoy it more. And I think it's because deep down, what I really want is Dead Throne 2.0.
Sure.
Right? I want heavy, crazy Devil Wears Prada, like the old days, right?
Yeah.
Those days are gone.
Right.
We just need to accept it.
For sure.
And I thought this was very well produced. There's also a lot of, like, electronic pieces in it, and Mike doesn't seem to have as much of a presence vocally on some songs.
Yeah.
It's very catchy. My wife loves it. And I enjoy playing the whole thing front to back. And there's several songs that I really, really, really enjoy that are not heavy at all.
So, this is tough, you know? And I think you're right. I think, so, yeah, Mike's presence is less, but it also is very similar to the act, in my opinion. And I know you're going to be like, no.
No, I think you're right. Okay. It is definitely the spiritual successor of the act.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I listened to it a few times, and my first thought was, this isn't heavy. I don't like it. I'll play Sacrifice because I've listened to it for a year, and it's an awesome track, right?
You're like, album of the year just for Sacrifice.
We talked about this like a month ago, and I gave it mileage. And you were right, Gary.
Yes.
As I say all the time, this album, if I keep listening to it, like if we would have recorded this in another month, it might be my album of the year.
Wow. Because it didn't even make your top 5, did it?
It made my top 5.
Originally, like a month or two ago whenever we talked?
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5, my original. But the more I listened to it, the more like I realized how emotional and deep the lyrics were. And even the soft songs, Gary, I do like.
Wow.
Cancer, which I could not listen to the first few times through, is a top 3 or 4 song on the album for me.
Same. Yep.
So good.
How come you didn't like it before?
I don't know. I just didn't. It wasn't Hallucinate. It wasn't Sacrifice. You know.
I get that. Yeah.
But
what about 25?
No, dude. See, that's one still. Like, I listen to that, and sometimes I gotta skip it. I'm not ready for that, like, emotional, like, hit to the chest.
Yeah.
You know?
I love the vocal work on that. Like, how he just screams for the first minute.
And it's so clear. Like, thinking back to Dead Throne, Branches, all that, right? Like, Mike's vocals were way different back then, obviously.
Yeah.
But the way he does it now is, like, so packed with emotion that when you listen to 25, like, if you don't get stirred, like, something inside you doesn't get kind of going, like, I don't know if you have a heartbeat. Like, I don't know if you're a person.
There's something wrong with you.
There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, his screams are like, is he crying?
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Like, holy cow.
Yeah, and so when I hear that song, and like, I'm in the car with my wife and my kids, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this right now. Next. Oh, yay, it's Hallucinate, or whatever's next, you know, like,
I'd love to do an album on this, or an episode.
I think we have to. I think my favorite song is Time now.
Ew.
I know.
That's like bottom 4.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. So good. Like, I don't even know what I like about it.
So I'll give some highlights in my opinion. So I think Hallucinate is their heaviest song in like
super fun.
In like the past, I don't know, since their Space EP.
Sure.
Like, so heavy. I don't know. The thread was really heavy on the act too, but my son loves Hallucinate.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's on his playlist.
Sweet.
He's always saying, "Dad, we haven't listened to Hallucinate." And it's, at first you're like, this is awesome. He's screaming with it, you know, going, Black Temple Hallucinate.
Yeah.
But then you take him to school and he's screaming it as you're signing his name, and you're like, hey, okay.
Hey, not in front of the other people. Not in front of the normies, right? Yeah. Not for the normal people that listen to everything else, okay?
Teacher's like, you listen to Devil Wears Prada? No, but
I watched that movie one time.
It's definitely, yeah. It's, I don't know. It's funny and it's great at home, you know, but when he's screaming it in public. But anyway, that song, so heavy. It's really good. I think another highlight is Noise. There's like the first half of the song, you're like, meh. Last half, it builds onto that first half, and like it does that whole like Under Oath, drowning in my sleep, you know. But for their song, and it's really cool the way that that's done. You think back in the day, Under Oath, they're only chasing safety, right?
Yeah.
Looking back, I thought that was so heavy.
Me too.
You know? And I think this album is like on par with that album. Like, there are pieces that are heavy, but a lot of it's just very melodic, and a lot of it's very like, I don't know, just aggressive.
Post metalcore. That's what we're getting into.
That's what we called it last time. Yeah.
That's what we called it. And it's what it feels like. And there is some heaviness, but like the heaviness is more like pushing away from breakdowns, you know, and more into the lyrics. I don't know, the space and
dadcore,
tones.
is that what we call it?
Dadcore. Yeah.
When the musicians become dads and start writing.
Yeah. You know, and the big change too, and this took getting used to, is we already said this sort of, but Mike became the support and Jeremy became the lead in vocals, right?
It sure seems that way, yeah.
It seems that way. In the act is when it started, to me, right? And everything before that was Mike is going to be 90 or 80% of the vocals, and then you're going to have your choruses sung with a super high voice Jeremy, which he doesn't do anymore, right? He now sings in like his actual voice, and he's really good. Like every time I listen to him sing choruses on the act and on Color Decay, I'm like, dude, this sounds like pop radio, not in a bad way, but it sounds like a song. Like, this is going to sound bad. It sounds like Chainsmokers, or it sounds like whatever.
Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, and
Nickelback.
He has a really good
Death Punch.
Okay, chill, dude. No. But he has a voice that's like not radio friendly, but it fits in that pop genre. He can sing.
Yeah.
And so when you add that to what Mike is doing, it's like no one is doing that.
Yep.
There isn't a band that I can think of that is like them right now.
Yeah, doing like this album, definitely. Like hearing everything else we've already talked about, no one has a sound like that.
Nope.
I mean, the closest is like Memphis May Fire, but that's just because of the production quality and stuff, but that's still not this. I don't even know what this is, you know?
Yeah. And I think since the act, they've taken it to this new, whatever they wanted to create this music, right? And not for their fans necessarily, because their fans want Dead Throne 2.0, right? They did what they want to do, and it is different and great. And I think people are coming around to it because they have a ton of plays.
I mean, I did not like it when it came out, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I had no interest in it. I didn't even want to start. But I had to, at least say I tried, right?
Yeah. It's so good. I think if you are a person like me,
you're a person? Get out.
Kind of. That did not like it the first few times through. You listen and you read the lyrics and you dive in. There's no way you can say that it's a bad album or a mediocre album. Impossible. It's so good.
Wow, impossible.
You
heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
On that note, let's go to whatever's next.
All right, so next was an EP from a band that also released their singles very slowly until they finally got to an EP. And the band is Amongst the Giants.
Yeah.
And the EP is called Desolate Minds. And I loved the singles whenever they came out. I was so excited for a new band to be releasing at this level. And it's also that, like, I don't even know what genre this is that I keep trying to describe, but that mainstream, popular, produced metalcore, right?
Yeah.
And they have a lot of electronic pieces in it, but their song Black Box is really good. Their song Medicated is, about mental illnesses and depression and stuff. And then their song Love Pain. Those are the three that stick out to me. But and they're under that new label that the Seventh Day Slumber guys have, so they're like produced and engineered through that. And whoever's doing that work with all those bands, they're releasing a lot of stuff lately. They're doing great work.
Right.
I think that's one to keep our eyes on. I think they're gonna have whatever's next is gonna be super good.
Sweet.
So next we'll talk about Tyler's favorite.
Oh,
Demon Hunter Exile.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Everyone knows that you're not the biggest Demon Hunter fan.
Another false accusation. I like the triptych.
Okay.
I'm kidding. No.
One of 11 albums.
I enjoy it. I thought this album was fine if you're into biker metal. 40-year-old. And not even biker metal. If you're into...
I was going to say, it's not that heavy.
No, it's not. If you're into what Demon Hunter's been doing lately, I'll just say that.
I think metal. No
metal.
subgenre.
There you go.
Just metal.
It's metal. It's metal. And it's fine. And it's good. I need core.
I hear you.
Some sort of core, please.
I as a huge fan of the first 6 or 7 albums of Demon Hunter, I really liked the album when it first came out, and the more I listened to it, the more I was kind of like picking apart songs and like, oh, right here, if he would have screamed. Oh, if he would have done this part. Oh, if there's double bass pedals here. Like, the whole time I'm just picking it apart, thinking how I would have engineered a Demon Hunter song.
Right.
And my least favorite song going in is my favorite song, which is Silence the World, which is not heavy at all. It's not even a ballad. It's like...
But you are a man that likes softer songs sometimes.
I like my Demon Hunter 2 ways. Heavy and fast, or ballads. Right? Like, I love their Songs of Death and Resurrection album. I love it. Yeah. I did not realize I listened to it so much that Spotify says that they're my favorite band. Right? Like, literally, #1.
Every year, still.
Like, still, it's like my 3rd year in a row, and I'm like, come on, stop listening to Demon Hunter.
Right.
I blame that album for this. But this album is neither. It's not ballads, and it's not heavy and fast. It's mid-tempo, rocky, like rock metal kind of stuff. And I feel like every song, it's so close to like I said, I'm listening, I'm like, I need this part a little heavier. Like, instead of singing here, he should scream this part, like, I don't know.
It almost seems like we're not their listeners anymore. Like, what we like isn't what they do.
Yeah.
And
we went down a different road of listeners, Yeah, their target audience is not us. And it's great. Like, I think the production is really good. And I know a lot of people really, really like this album, and they even call it like the best Demon Hunter release. And they're not like 8 years old, so they've heard other Demon Hunter releases. But
people are saying that?
Yeah.
Jeez.
For me, it's middle of the road, maybe the bottom half of all their albums, But I know some people are gonna be like, Gary, you don't understand. If you have a different opinion and you're like, you want to send me a song with your description, I'm down to hear opinions.
Right.
Change my mind. I'd love it.
And it's different for me because, like, I didn't grow up listening to Demon Hunter. I have no nostalgic connection. Do I like what they've released before? Yeah, there's some albums that I love. There's some songs that are on my playlist all the time. But you have every reason to love Demon Hunter because you grew up loving them. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not like, you're not giving them a shot.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
So maybe we're just not their target audience anymore.
I don't know. Well, so I saw them live at Furnace Fest.
Right.
Which I talked about a little bit.
He loved it. They were great.
And it was amazing. Like, I had such a great time. And they played, I think, one song, Freedom is Dead. Right. That's how they started it from this album. And it was their, like, 20 years tour, so they did like a song from every album kind of thing, and it was super sick. Fun, super cool. I had a blast. Love to see them again. I love Demon Hunter. I don't love this album,
and I think that's fair.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next one that released on the same day.
Oh,
which took all my attention, I think, too. Fit for a King, The Hell We Create.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Love it. So good. It is light years ahead of The Path.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even though there's some pathiness to it. I love it, dude. Like, I liked it. This is an album I liked when I first heard it. When I said, send me a song, and I listened to it, and I was like, Gary, I'm in.
I didn't even send you Eyes Roll Back.
You didn't. You sent me, which ended up being my favorite song.
Which one did I send you? Their last one, right?
What You Left Behind.
Yeah. That's right.
And I was like, I love it. We got big chorus, soft, chill verses, and a beautiful breakdown. The formula that, like, the best fit for a king is. Right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This is it. Okay? And so there's 6-7 songs on this album that I like a lot. Like. A thing that I think I liked about this album, it wasn't to me, and I know you don't feel this way, the same. More of like deathcore vocals. There's some softer songs that are different than what they've done before, but it's still fit for a king. And I felt like they got back to Dark Skies a little bit, which I liked.
So this is a Dark Path album?
It is. We saw them for the Dark Path tour, and this is a Dark Path album, which I'm here for.
Yeah. It definitely feels like, you know, the spiritual successor of Dark Skies, which they said was the intention.
Right.
You know, which I'm all for. I mean, we did an episode on The Path, like, like 2 or 3 days after it dropped. So, like, we barely even, to use our name, consumed the album, right?
We not do that again.
Yeah, and we felt bad afterwards, and our opinions have changed, and we don't exactly line up with that anymore.
Right.
But yeah, this was a huge step in the right direction. I still like Dark Path. Sorry, I still like Dark Skies better.
Yeah.
But yeah, my biggest gripe. Here we go. Okay,
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready.
You've heard several of mine, right? So when a month or two ago, Tyler's like, album of the year, and I'm like, let's fight. It is not, right? And we're like fighting about it.
Yeah.
Besides some of the guitar riffs being too similar to other songs, I just don't like Ryan's clean vocals. Like, their heavy songs on this are great, right?
Sure.
I love End. I love The Hell We Create. I love Eyes Roll Back.
Yeah.
And I like his singing too, like even Falling Through the Sky, right? It's really catchy. But I'll say this the rudest way possible.
Oh, gosh.
When Ryan opens his mouth, I want him to scream. Because his like heavy, deep stuff is so good.
So good.
And his highs are so good. And I just wish that's what the focus was, right?
I'm okay with his cleans, dude.
And
I get it.
People don't like Turk's.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't like Turk's clean vocals. Mm-hmm. But I do. Like, I really like them. And I wish that he would sing more. Mm. But, yeah, anyway.
So, for me, too, like, we did have gripes, I guess, on the path. The use of church bells or whatever it was. You know. And that must have been a thing that they're like, yeah, we shouldn't have done it that much, because they didn't do it very much on this album. There is one point. Oh, yeah. There is one. Okay. So, and it's on my favorite song. Okay. At the very end of the breakdown of What You Left Behind, right when it gets to that breakdown, it goes one church bell, dong, and then it goes into the breakdown.
Okay.
But it's perfect because they don't do it again and again and again. You know what I mean? Like, it feels to me like what I didn't like in the path, and it wasn't just church bells. That's just an example. But what I kind of wasn't a fan of in the path changed, and The Hell We Create is Dark Skies 2.0.
Right.
Close.
The sequel.
The sequel.
Do you like it better? Like, is this your favorite Fit for a King album? Oh, he's thinking.
Oh, boy. I don't...
I almost regret my question.
No.
Okay.
Dark Skies. Yeah, Dark Skies. Still. There's just so many awesome tracks that, like, mean a ton to me. But maybe in the future. I think this is a solid, like, it's top 3.
Yeah. I will agree to that. I think it is top 3 for me, too. Like, number 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 4. Maybe. And I really like it, and I will say that when we had our conversation last time, when we were like, what do you think album of the year is? And you said this, and I was like, how dare you? I listened to it a bunch to, like, try to see
my point of view. Sure.
Yeah. And I definitely didn't give it enough mileage. And I think part of it is I listened to Demon Hunter a lot at the same time.
Yeah.
And I felt like my disappointment was being rubbed off.
Sure.
And I've listened to it a lot, and I like it a lot more. And people don't like that song Times Like This.
I like it.
Because it's like, I was like, you could 2-step to this. Like, I mean, it's not deathcore, but it's good.
Great breakdown.
Yeah. And anyway, I definitely need to listen to it more.
And I do have a complaint though, like the issue that we're living in right now with like the singles being released way before, right? When Reaper was released, for example, I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. But then I didn't get that feeling of when the album came out, like, yes, I went and I skipped it because I've heard it, just like you said with Sacrifice.
Yep. You hear the first few seconds of the song and you're like, oh my gosh, this song, skip.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
and it kind of, I think that kind of ruins it. And I mean, yeah, I felt the same way, even with End, because that was another single that I really liked too.
Me too. You know, and it happened with Norma Jean. It happened with other bands. It's just what happens now. You get singles way ahead of time, and when it's released, the album, those singles are on there.
Yeah, and like you had this problem with The Devil Wears Prada too, when you're just like Hallucinate's the only heavy song. I was like, Sacrifice,
right?
Watchtower, and it's like, oh yeah,
but
I did. But like when you listen to the album, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't listen to that song, right? You just skip it. You're like, that's not part of the album. Yeah. Oh well. The state of the world.
Okay, what else do we have? We're getting close.
We're getting close. I don't know if you know of this one. I added it kind of last minute.
Yeah.
A band called Wind Vent.
No, never heard of them.
They had an EP called Rima come out. They're a post-hardcore band from Mexico.
Huh.
And I've been listening to this EP. It came out, well, after Fit for a King, so like November maybe, Thanksgiving-ish. And yeah, it's awesome. Super spirit-filled band. They kind of remind me of like Bloodlines.
Oh yeah.
But probably more singing in it. Not so much hardcore and breakdowny, but it's really good. I'm impressed every time I hear it. I'm like, who is this? Like, oh yeah, these guys. Oh yeah, I see that pink album cover, and I'm like,
yeah.
So yeah, you should check it out. So I think that kind of wraps up the discussion. There's obviously a lot more that came out.
A ton. Yes.
That we didn't talk about because either Tyler or me didn't listen to it enough to have a single opinion, or it just didn't have that big of an impact on us.
Yeah.
So, but even still, if you think we're forgetting something and you want to talk about it, whatever, send us a message on socials and stuff like that.
Riot in the comments. That's what you got to do.
Yep,
Just
there you go. Rage.
Go crazy.
So I think it's time for us to talk about our album of the year.
Let's hear that top 5. Gary, you going first or am I?
Do we want to do this like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, for sure.
And like you go all 5, I go all 5. We go 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3.
Yeah, I think you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Discuss. I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Discuss.
Okay, so I can explain why you're wrong.
Yes.
Okay. So, number 5 for me was Plead the Widow's Cause. And my reasoning for this list, I won't go into detail too much. I won't talk. Yeah. Episode's almost over. Hang in there, people. My reasoning for these are, like, I thought about replay value. I thought about production quality. I thought about what's new. Like, and what's not just like a copy-paste of another album that I've heard 100 times. So I went Plead the Widow's Cause with number 5.
Okay, for sure.
Number 4, Confessions of a Traitor.
Oh.
Number 3 is Wolves at the Gate Eulogies.
Okay.
Why are you smiling?
I'm just thinking.
All right. I feel like
this is exciting, dude.
It's like I'm saying the wrong answers and you're getting on my case over here.
I'm looking at my list up and down. I'm looking at my list and I'm like, okay.
All right. Number 2, Becoming the Archetype. I thought it was a fresh sound, well, the band was backed, right? That's part of the hype and the excitement. And number 1 is the one I ragged on the whole time. Was The Devil Wears Prada, Color Decay.
Fit for a King didn't make your top 5.
And I think last time we talked, they were number 5.
They were on it. I remember.
Yeah, they were.
But you put Confessions on there. I think that was what switched it.
Yeah, and last time we talked, it was a month or so ago. I don't remember, but we made it on the spot, right? We didn't get to think about it.
Yeah.
And I moved that one off because I felt like it was too similar to other Fit for a King albums. Like the fact that it felt like a sequel.
Okay.
that one song, I won't say which one, that has pretty darn identical guitar tone and riff to start as another song on the path. You know,
Yeah.
like we played them back to back. We're like, okay, they're not
Similar.
exactly the same, but it sure reminds you of the path. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I want from Fit for a King, and I think that's part of it.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, I don't know what I want from the Devil Wears Prada. Well, I do know what I want, but I'm not getting it. And
but that's okay.
yeah.
Okay, so me. Spoiler, Fit for a King is on it, so you're going to have to... my number 5.
I'll get my wrong button ready. I'll go, wrong.
Number 5, Same as You. Plead the Widow's Cause.
Wow. All right.
Pain Split. Refreshing. Love the post-hardcore. I hope these guys get big so they can actually come to the West Coast so we can see them.
Yep.
Like, that would be dope.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, just come to Spokane. And
once
then
you guys make it
happens,
over here, you guys can disband and go on with the rest of your life, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
no, for them, they seem like cool dudes.
Yeah.
I hope they get big. 4, Children of the Great Extinction becoming the Archetype.
wow. Did that move down on your
It
list?
moved down.
Ooh.
It moved down. Still really, really good. I like it a lot, but maybe not as much as the next 3.
Okay.
3, Same as You, Eulogies. Wolves at the Gate. I, for a while, thought this was my number 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's surprising to me.
Because I went through and I was like, I like a lot of these songs. They're great, lyrically just awesome, and there's some really heavy songs and some not so heavy, but I still like them.
Yep.
Number 2, this is within the last month, it moved up, dude. Color Decay, Devil Wears Prada.
Even though it's supposed to be number 1, and you already told me what another album that's on your top 5, so I already know what number 1 is.
Color Decay is so good, and no one else is doing. I think that's the biggest thing for me, which is similar to Becoming the Archetype. Like, the way that they write their music is different than what other people are doing. And I think The Devil Wears Prada is a prime example of something new, a band taking risks and like putting out authentic music that we can identify with. There's a reason why we love or don't love, because it gets you so emotionally worked up, 25 or Cancer or Noise or whatever it is, right? There's so much emotion packed in these songs. To me, there's no song that's like, that's fluff.
Sure.
When you think of the other albums that we talked about, I think you could look at it and say, you know what, like, ragging on the path again, there's no Locked in My Head, in my opinion. Right? Like, there isn't that. And so they're not trying to find a radio hit. They're just doing what they want to do.
Yeah, I kind of get that too. And it doesn't feel like there's like a filler track.
No.
You know, like, oh, we had to get to 10, so...
And if there was, they were the singles. Or some of the singles. I think that's part of it too, which I love about it, is that the rest of the album that weren't singles, it's so good.
Yep.
Right? And so that first listen through, even though it wasn't the first one for me, like the continual listen through, I'm like, these songs are fresh, dude. You know?
Well, I'm glad you've changed your mind on that, because when I was it even on your top 5 last time?
Yeah, it
we
was
talked?
like 4 or 5. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
Give it another month and it might be 1, dude. It's getting
all right. Next month, a new episode.
there. For now, my number 1 of the year is The Hell We Create by Fit for a King. Dark Skies sequel, Dark Path, some elements of the path that I liked into an album, and it was awesome.
You know, if we do an episode on that, you'll have to take
Convince
the lead.
you?
Convince me, yeah, because I felt more disappointed than enjoyed.
Really?
Than enjoying the album, but yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised that it's your number 1.
What would you have said my number 1 would be?
Well, knowing you,
Fit for a King.
Yeah.
That's the Tyler pick, dude.
Yep, it is.
It's the heavy stuff that released, it's the
But I mean,
stuff
looking back
I
at like last year or 2 years ago, I don't think The Path was on your top 5 at all, because
I don't remember. I mean, Phineas was up there.
A year later.
2021. It's so long ago. Okay, so those are our top 5. My question to you, Gary, what are you looking forward to for 2023? What bands are you trying to keep an eye out for?
I'm not prepared for this.
I know.
So I'm thinking from most recent to not most recent. Obviously, Haste Today. What are they announcing?
Are they going to do something? Yeah.
One of my favorite bands, like huge impact on my musical taste to go from metal and rock to metalcore, right? They were like really one of the gateways up there, so them, surprisingly, Project 86,
right?
I haven't liked Project 86, I mean, in years and years and years and years. Last album I liked was probably Truthless Heroes.
Yeah.
Right after that, I've listened to every album and I go, that's Project 86. I've seen them 6 or 7 times live. But this song that they just released, Metatropolis,
so good.
It's insane.
It's fun. It's so heavy. It's like,
yeah, like, dude, what is happening?
Yeah.
Andrew Schwab can scream like that.
Yeah.
And then you go and look at who the musicians are in the band, because the band kind of shakes up its lineup every once in a while, and it's Norma Jean,
right?
Like, all of them. Like, I know Corey Brandon is in it, and that's a big one, and like their drummer and I think their other guitarist, and so I think it's going to be just insane. And it's a 2-part album.
Yeah.
It'll be a double album. And the second one is like codenamed The Brutal Album. So
right.
That single is not from the Brutal album.
Yeah, that is wild.
So I'm excited, and I'm curious, and who knows? Maybe this is the heaviest song that they release on the album, and the rest isn't like that.
Sure.
But this single track has me interested. I'm now paying attention, where before I knew it was happening, but I just didn't care that much.
Yeah.
Now I care.
I mean, for me, like, I'm looking forward to Convictions. Stigmata, single release is epic.
That's so awesome. Yep.
Like, lyrically, like, I just love how it not that they ever got away. Like, their last album was kind of a concept album, which was cool, but like, this is like unashamed, crucify me upside down, like, awesome. Awesome lyrics, heavy, love their direction.
Yep.
Looking forward to Bloodlines.
Yes.
What are we going to get out of them?
Always looking forward to them. Yep. Any band that we've done an episode on.
Right, and they just released a single, Psalm of the Depths, and it is Bloodlines, man. It's heavy, it's brutal breakdown, space, and just awesome.
Yep.
And I'm also looking forward to a band that I've got into recently.
Okay, so it's not the one I thought you were about to bring up. What's that?
Cultist.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I recently, like, started listening a lot to them. I text you, I said, dude, these guys are good. And you're like, yeah, I know.
I was going to text you, duh.
And so I'm stoked to see what they do this year, too.
Yeah. I'm excited for them, too, because it was a single guy project for a long time. And now he's got a full band. He's on Face Down. They're ready to go. So I'm excited for that. What about August Burns Red dropping in March, dude?
That's true.
That's going to be so good.
Like you said, I love whatever they put out. So it's awesome.
Then we got Holy Name.
We'll see where it goes.
It'll be good. It doesn't it won't be album of the year for me, I don't think, based on what I've heard so far. But
it's not really Sleeping Giant. You just get that out of our head, right? Yep. It's Holy Name.
There's another band that's released like 3 singles this year, and I don't know what the plan is, if it's building to an EP or something, but they're really good.
Yeah.
They're called They Become Martyrs.
Yeah.
And their latest single is marked as explicit. I talked to them. They're like, whoops, it wasn't supposed to do that. So it's not explicit. Really cool guys from what I've talked to on Instagram and stuff. But they're like, old school metalcore, like Sweet. Bringing that back, Anything else from you? Like, is there another band? I could probably list several.
I'm sure there's a ton. I just thought of this, like, there's a lot to look forward to in metalcore, heavy music, deathcore. Like, there's some cool stuff coming out. So
yeah, and there's tons of bands that seem to be popping back.
Yeah.
Coming back, right? Like A Feast for Kings. Here's their vinyl on my wall. They had an EP that came out years ago, and it was amazing. And their lead singer died in a horrible work accident.
Right.
And now his little brother, I believe it's his little brother, is their vocalist.
Jeez.
And so they're back, and they have a song out called Poison. Who knows what's coming next year? Maylene and the Sons of Disaster released a single. Yeah. Does that mean we're going to get more songs?
Right.
That would be super awesome. One last one that I'm looking forward to. There's a band that's released like 6 singles, never made an EP, so I didn't get to say, album of the year, EP of the year.
Yeah.
But this band, Discerner, you remember them? I sent you one of their songs.
Yeah.
He like does the barking and corn like screaming and crazy breakdowns and stuff. Like, they're really cool. I don't think they label themselves as Christian, but read the lyrics.
They are, or at least the dude is. Yeah.
Or at least he has an idea of church culture.
Yeah.
But they're really cool. Discerner. Awesome.
Cool.
They're really heavy stuff. But excited for this coming year. I don't think it's so far. I don't think there's anything like roadmapped that far out where you can say it's going to be bigger than this year, because even last year at this time we're like, no one's going to release music in 2022.
And look what they did.
Yeah. And then, Becoming the Archetype pops up and says, here's a full album. What if Haste the Day does that?
Oh, dude, I know.
Go nuts.
So you're saying, Gary, there's a likelihood that there's going to be enough content for us to continue this podcast?
We probably could do a couple more episodes.
Okay, all right.
Dude, we still have to catch up with this year.
That's true.
And we keep wanting to do stuff from like back in the day, and people are always sending us messages to do
this, yeah.
Do this old band, do this one. It's like, man, I'd love to, okay, but we don't have infinite hours in the day. So excited for this next year.
Me too, man.
Stoked for the new albums, new discussions, new episodes. So thanks everyone for listening. Thank you to our patrons that give us some money every month to pay for the recording service that we use, to pay for any kind of equipment we use and stuff like that. We super appreciate you guys. And if you want to talk to us, tell us we're wrong about our top 5s. I know Tyler's wrong, but send us a message on Instagram, Facebook, join our Discord server, have this conversation with lots of other people that have the same kind of, heart for this music and this scene.
Yeah. And I think that's the best part about like why we do this, is like the community around the music that we listen to, this Christian heavy music, is awesome. And Discord, I'm so thankful for it. People that are on there and put up with us all the time.
Yeah. So go on there and tell us how our top 5s aren't even Christian metal bands. Tell us how we're, we love these conversations. So. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you for listening.